Bovine Banter with the Penn State Extension Dairy Team. I'm Emily Fread, and I'm a dairy educator based in Union County, Pennsylvania. Joining us today is Brett Reinford, owner and operator of Reinford Farms in Mifflintown, Pennsylvania. Brett, can you please tell us about the farm and your role in the operation?
Good morning, Emily. Yes, I certainly can. I'm glad to be on today and looking forward to having a discussion with you about digesters. I've been on the farm almost my entire life. I left to go to school and then took a software job in Minneapolis, where my wife is from. I came back to the farm in 2012 and have been here ever since. My mom and dad recently transitioned the farm to my two brothers and I. So we're in a partnership now with my older brother and my younger brother. We farm about 1,400 acres and we about 700 cows. And so my role on the farm is office related and management. So when I'm able to, I try to spend as much time as I can in the office and, just general management of the farm. And then I also have a passion for food waste and the digester. So I take a role in that part of the operation as well.
How did you and your brothers decide to invest in a digester?
When we decided to invest in a digester, the idea began in 2006. My dad was dealing with some odor complaints within the neighborhood, and he was looking for something that would help to reduce the odor of the manure. At the same time, I was in college, and our biology professor was asking us to be more sustainable in our dorm rooms, and I wanted to see if I could make it a more grand event, if you will. And so I kind of started looking at how we could make the farm more sustainable. And I looked at wind and solar, and I happened to come across an article in a farming magazine about digesters. And so I presented that idea to my dad for a way of making electricity. And meanwhile, he was looking for ideas on how to reduce odor, and it just seemed like a perfect fit. And so that was in 2006. We ended up building that first digester in 2008 and then built a second one in 2019.
Did y'all tour a bunch of other farms who had digesters and talk to other people who'd already done it before you decided to make the decision to go through with it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, yes, we did. Back in 2006, there wasn't many digesters in the United States. I'm not sure how many there were, but there was for sure less than 50. And the digesters that we knew that were on farms, some of them were not working, and many of them were not even close to us. So there was a couple in Pennsylvania at the time. So we ended up flying to Washington State to look at the good, bad, and the ugly. So we toured some digesters that were not working, and we toured some digesters that were working, and we kind of got the full picture on what makes these things work and not work. And yeah, so we did a lot of research on digesters and took the time to make sure that we did it right.
That is definitely commitment to fly all the way to Washington
Yeah,
State.
it's a beautiful state.
Yeah. I think a lot of farmers who are thinking about putting in a digester are a little bit wary because they, are worried that their digester could break down. So, do you spend a lot of time doing maintenance on your digester?
Yeah, we do now. When we first installed our digester, it was great when everything was new and working. And to be honest, we didn't spend much time with them. I mean, there was times where they'd shut off and we'd have to figure it out. Sometimes it was a biological issue, sometimes mechanical, and we just kind of manage them in a way that if they broke down, then we would decide to fix them. Now we have basically it's almost a full-time job for someone to manage and service our digesters. So we do spend a lot more time working on the mechanical side of things, servicing pumps, mixers, making sure that sensors and everything are working. You have the biological side as well that is very unpredictable. And this week alone, we had a pretty significant foaming event, and that took someone a day and a half to kind of get that under control. Yeah, so we do spend a lot more time than we initially thought we were going to have to. I'm not saying you have to spend as much time as we do on our digester. We just we've done it both ways. We spent half an hour a day on them. Unless something breaks, then it can take up your whole day. But now we do spend a lot more time just monitoring them and making sure they're running at peak efficiency, and it's worked well for us to do it that way. So you can manage them either way you want. We've decided to spend a lot of time and focus on them.
That makes sense. Are there service providers out there that can help you if there's a problem you don't know how to fix, or are you kind of on your own?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So we, from a mechanical side of things, there are service providers. So, when we built our second digester, we focused on buying equipment from companies that we knew could service their own equipment. So that was part of the strategy on buying our second one. The first one, we didn't really have that service behind us. And so we specifically switched our pumps around to more local and folks that can actually fix them. The motor is serviced by the company that we bought the digesters from, and they're local as well. So it's been great having a local folks fixing the mechanical side of things. When it comes into the biological, we rely a lot on Penn State, University of Maryland, and any university and or company that offers a biological solution to the problems that we solve. There is a lot of tinkering. There was a lot of trial and error that we had to do ourselves for sure. I mean, it's not something that you install and then you call someone to help fix it. I mean, you do have to spend time to take care of the issues yourself. Otherwise, it gets really expensive. But you, after running these things for 15 years, you kind of seen it all, and you get better and better at managing them as you continue learning about them.
You could be a digester consultant.
I don't know if that's not a job that I'd want to do. We have a gentleman that works for us that does a fantastic job and is really into the science behind it and the mechanical stuff. And so he does a wonderful job managing it for us. So it's not a career that I think I could maybe do. But we've seen it all. We've seen it all. So we can definitely give you some advice on what not to do and what to do for sure with a digester.
I think a lot of people are also intimidated by how much a digester can cost. So, how were you able to fund your digester? Were you able to get any grants or any funding from the state or the federal government to help with the cost of it?
We did. Initially, that was the only way that we could afford to buy them. We thought the costs were expensive 15 years ago, and even 5 years ago in 2019 when we built our second one. Now the costs are exponentially more expensive, and what you get paid for electricity, you can't really justify installing one without significant grant funding. And so for our first digester, it's about $1 million. We got half of that paid for with grant funding. And then our second digester was about $3 million, and around half of that was also paid for with grant funding. So that's kind of my own preference that if you can get half of the grants to fund your digester, then you can usually make them work from a financial standpoint. But still, the cost now, to build a digester like our second one would probably be $5 or $6 million, so almost double the price. And so even if you got half of that paid for with grant money, I don't know that you could economically justify that. So yeah, there's a lot of things with grants too, and we're looking at upgrading a motor right now. And it's really with grants, it's about timing. And so we've been going through a motor upgrade here for the last probably year and a half, 2 years, and it's been about trying to piece grants together to get enough funding to justify the cost. And so I think we've been able to do that, but it takes time, yeah, a year and a half, 2 years, just to kind of wait for funding to kind of fall in place. So, but yeah, grant funding is incredibly important to justifying the cost of these digesters.
I know a lot of things on the dairy have a lifespan. A parlor is only going to last 20 or 25 years. Is there a lifespan on digesters, or is it as long as you can keep them running, they're good?
Yeah, very good question. Yep, there is a lifespan, and dealing with manure, it shortens those lifespans even more. So there's two main components, I guess, to a digester that kind of wears out. The first one is the motor. So we've been running a motor for about 14 years now. It was beyond its lifespan probably 5 years ago, but we just keep putting money into it to keep it running, just because new motors are significantly more expensive. And so we're in the process of trying to upgrade that. But a motor will generally get you 10 years, but you do have to in that 10-year span, you do have to overhaul that motor quite a few times. So it is expensive to maintain a motor and to keep it going. And then the other component is all the pumps and mixers and the actual digester tank itself. Our digester is made out of concrete, so we don't see any issues with the concrete, but you have the tarp on top that starts to deteriorate. And you also have an issue with solids building up in the digester, which requires you to clean out, to take the top off, to clean out the digester. And that's a very expensive process as well. And so our original one, we went 10 years without having to clean it out. And then we did clean it out. And so now we have two digesters that have started or restarted at the same time. And so we're 5 years into it. We're going to have to start thinking about cleaning these things out, which is a pretty expensive process in the next couple of years. So there is a lifespan. And, depending on how you manage them, sometimes you can get lucky and extend a couple more years than your 10-year expected lifespan.
I think what's pretty unique about y'all's operation is that you do some food waste recycling. So how did you get into that?
Was by chance. Really, built our digester, original one to reduce odor. And at the time, even we weren't even sure we could sell electricity back to the grid. The laws had just changed as we were about to come online that we could sell electric back to our power company. And so we installed our digester, and about 3 months after we installed it, we received a call from a food waste broker that basically managed all of Walmart's food waste. And they ask if we could take food waste. And at the time, we didn't know anything about food waste. Didn't know you could even put it in a digester, but we had heard through Penn State that it does produce more gas than manure. And so my dad was intrigued and decided to build a little concrete pad and made a little chopper out of an old corn chopper to shred the pumpkins and watermelons or whatever showed up. And so 3 months after we built a digester, we started receiving food waste, and we did that process for about 9 years, just working with Walmart and taking their expired produce that was of course separated, so no trash in it. But we were seeing some trash get through their protocols there at the stores, and so we decided to invest in a depackaging machine and build an enclosed facility that was specifically designed to handle food waste. That was in 2017, and from there we have expanded our client list. We work with probably 50 or 60 clients throughout Pennsylvania and the Northeast here. Originally we were doing about 40 tons of food waste a day, and now we were doing like 5,000 tons of food waste a day from Walmart, and now we're doing about 60,000 tons of food waste a day, and that's packaged food waste that you would see in your grocery store. And so our depackagers helped us to expand into different food waste streams that we weren't able to do with the system that we were originally set up to do. So yeah, it's been a growing business, and it wasn't part of the plan. We saw an opportunity in food waste and a way to help fund the digester and to make more methane to produce electricity. And so it's been working well for us over the last 5 or 6 years.
Talked about how you've really grown that business and now you have 50, 60 businesses that recycle food waste with you. So how did you market that? Was it mainly word of mouth, or did you go out and try to get that business?
I could talk a while about how that has evolved for us on our farm. I guess the short answer is we don't have a sales team here. The only time it ever worked for me to do a cold call or cold email and get some food waste was when we first put in our depackager building. We're not getting enough food waste to justify the cost. And so I sent an email to a client that we still work with, and they responded back to me. And we've been working with them ever since, and we did a good job with them. And so word of mouth kind of spread that Reinford Farms can take packaged food waste, which was something that was kind of unique to the state at the time. We then have been able to grow our food waste business through word of mouth. We don't do any advertising. We don't have any sales either. Most of our food waste comes through broker client relationships. So there is companies out there that essentially control all the waste for a lot of the big companies. And so we get tied into them, and we develop a relationship with them that works, and we're happy, they're happy. And at the end of the day, the client's happy. And so we've been able to, for now, do a fairly decent job of managing the waste that comes to us. And so we've been able to grow our business that way. So yeah, it's been a long process. It certainly didn't happen overnight. When we were first starting and we were doing 2 or 3 loads a week of packaged food waste, we were thrilled. And now we're doing, 15 loads a day and working 24/7. And there seems to be no end in sight to how much waste is out there, which is unfortunate. Yeah. So we've been able to just kind of develop relationships with the clients we work with that have expanded into other relationships that we've been able to take an opportunity with.
Do you provide trucking for the food waste, or is that on whoever you're getting it from to get it to you guys?
It goes both ways. We do have a trucking company that we have 7 trucks, 40 trailers that are hauling food waste every day. We started that business when we had the depackaging business starting in 2017. And so we haul a lot of the waste in Pennsylvania that we get. Now, the hauling costs get pretty expensive when you start going out of state. And so our clients that we work with up in New York, New Jersey, Maryland will generally hire their own trucks to bring us the waste. So it comes about half the waste that we'll receive, we're hauling ourselves, and the rest is hauled in by a third party.
So how many employees do y'all have on your whole operation? Because I'm sure it's a lot to run the dairy and this business as well.
We have, I believe, 33 employees counting family members, and we have about 8 of those are tied to the actual food waste recycling business. And then we have 3 or 4 truck drivers, and then the rest are tied into the dairy farm. So we have a couple different enterprises here that we share employees between businesses, but yeah, it's grown and as we've grown, we've had to learn to adjust and make changes, and it's been a learning experience for me personally.
I'm sure it's a lot of people to manage.
Yeah, yep. We have a wonderful team here that does a good job. So I definitely have the support that I need to help with the things that need to be managed.
If a farmer came to you and said that they were thinking about putting in a digester and starting a food waste recycling business, what advice would you have for them?
Do your homework. I guess I'll split this up into 2 things. So if they want to install a digester on their farm, for sure do your homework. There's a lot of different digester companies out there that probably won't be in existence in the next 5 years. There's a lot of, I call it snake oil and over promising on what a digester can do. When we bought ours, we didn't think there was going to be as much labor involved as there was, and there is now. So it's, if you don't have the personnel to help manage a digester, not a good investment for you because it will distract from potentially your dairy operation. You hear a lot of the good stories, but what we did when we were looking at digesters, we looked at some of the bad and why they didn't work. And so there's unfortunately quite a few stories like that out there that you don't get to hear about. Yeah, do your homework, and if make sure it's something that you're actually passionate about doing and want to do it. And if it's something that you really want to do, I think you can make it work. The food waste side of things, you have to be careful. It's a very competitive market out there. So, the idea, I hear it all the time and I kind of cringe. It's like, well, I'll build a digester and I'll put food waste in, and that's how it's going to fund my digester. It's brutally competitive out there. And yeah, there's no guarantee that you'll get food waste, and there's certainly no guarantee that you'll get enough waste to justify the cost. And plus, you have to have the land base then to be able to spread the extra waste that you're getting into your site. So there's just a bunch of things that you need to consider. I caution that if you start looking at the dollar signs and think, well, this is how much we could make with a digester, it's not always, it's rarely the case. I will say. So it does take a lot of effort and to make one of these things be successful.
Does Reinford Farms have any plans for the future regarding sustainability? Are there any other technologies that you guys are hoping to try?
Yeah, we're always looking for future opportunities, especially in sustainability. It seems to be what consumers want to hear about. And so, and quite frankly, we just kind of enjoy that side of things. There's some exciting new technology that's coming down the line from a crop standpoint, from even a dairy standpoint, and certainly from a digester and food waste standpoint. And so I think the big thing that we're looking at right now, and we're at least exploring, is biochar, and what the potential that is for cropland. But I believe I can also tie it into our food waste business as well, and the digest state that we're getting or capturing on the back end of the digester. And so that's something that I've been kind of exploring for the last couple of years, and hopefully we can take a step in that direction soon. But yeah, so biochar has kind of been a fairly big focus of mine here in the last couple of years.
Before we wrap up, do you have any other take-home messages for our audience?
The the digester has provided a wonderful story for our farm, and it's been a wonderful thing that we have on our farm it's opened up doors for at least our farm to take into the community and to talk about what dairy farming is from an agricultural standpoint, but also be able to tie in sustainability and what we're doing for the environment. And so that's opened up a ton of doors for us to speak and to talk and to educate people. And so that's one of the intangible benefits of a digester that we've seen from our standpoint. You have to look at some of the intangibles of doing things. And I was talking to a digester owner here recently, and he built a digester specifically for what my dad was going to build one for. It was to reduce odor. It doesn't make you any money necessarily, but it makes you a better neighbor. And, I think that's important in the dairy world. So look at the intangibles of a digester for sure, but also do your homework. So I need to reiterate this. They're a whole nother animal to operate. I'm not trying to scare anybody from doing them. I think they're great. They've helped our farm be successful, but make sure there's someone on your farm that has a passion to see them succeed. And if you do, I think you can make them work.
I think that's great advice. Well, thanks, Brett, for talking with us today, and thanks everyone for listening. If you have any questions regarding this topic, you can shoot me an email at evf5337@psu.edu, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.